You were taught to chase. From the cradle they fed you a story. A man's worth is measured by the woman he wins. They told you love is a battlefield, that sacrifice is noble, that bleeding for her approval makes you human. They draped this lie in poetry, in movies, in songs that glorified the ache of longing, and you believed it. You believed that to be a man is to pursue, to prove, to surrender your soul for a smile. But what if this chase, this so-called romance, is not a path to love, but a trap designed to strip you of your power? What if the war on men isn't fought with weapons but with illusions, waged not by enemies, but by the very desires you've been trained to obey? The world has changed, but the script remains. You're branded a deadbeat before you've even had a chance to prove your worth as a father. In the courts of law and public opinion, you're guilty by default. Your masculinity a stain you must scrub, clean through silence and compliance. This is not justice. It's a ritual of shame, a psychological assault that demands you confess to sins you didn't commit, that you reshape yourself to fit a narrative that paints you as the problem. You're not just fighting for your children or your dignity, you're fighting for the right to exist as a man without apology. This war extends beyond the courtroom into the marketplace of desire. Women have learned to wield their allure like a weapon, not out of malice, but because the world has taught them their body is their currency. Every calculated pose, every filtered image, every deliberate flash of skin is a performance, optimized for attention, designed to pull you into a cycle of hunger and frustration. They've turned their femininity into a product, a brand, a megaphone of arousal that drowns out the possibility of intimacy. You're not drawn to a soul, you're ambushed by an algorithm. And when you respond, when your biology stirs, they call it weakness, proof of your inferiority. The game is rigged. You're set up to fail, to chase a mirage that vanishes when you reach for it, leaving you hollow, questioning not just her, but yourself. You give away your power every time you play this game. You scroll, you swipe, you wait for a text, like it's oxygen. You reshape your words, your wardrobe, your dreams to align with what you think she wants. You call it love, but it's negotiation. A transaction where you offer your time, your energy, your pride in exchange for a fleeting reflection of your worth. And when she grows cold, when she ghosts, when she loves you less the more you give, you're not just heartbroken, you're devastated because you've tied your identity to her gaze. You've handed her the keys to your soul, and she didn't even ask for them. You walked into the chains smiling, with a bouquet in hand. This is the war on men, a silent, insidious campaign to make you doubt your instincts, to shame your nature, to demand you apologize for being born male. In classrooms you're taught that your strength is toxic, your anger dangerous, your very existence a privilege you must atone for. In workplaces, you're trained to silence your objections, to nod along to narratives that frame you as the oppressor, never the oppressed. In relationships, you're conditioned to perform, to soften, to shrink, hoping she'll choose you. But the moment you chase, you lose. The moment you seek her approval, you surrender your sovereignty. The moment you make her the mirror of your worth, you cease to be a man and become a supplicant. But there is another way. Imagine a man who stands still, not out of fear, but out of certainty. A man who doesn't chase because he knows his value, doesn't depend on being chosen. A man who walks through the world unbowed, unafraid of rejection, unbothered by the absence of her smile. This man doesn't need her to reflect his worth, because he carries it within him, forged in the fire of self-acceptance, tempered by the truth that he is enough. He doesn't orbit her whims. He charts his own course. He doesn't beg for love. He creates it, not as a transaction, but as a choice. a gift given freely, not a debt to be repaid. This man is not a myth. He is you, beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the masks you've worn to seem acceptable. But to find him, you must burn the script. Stop chasing what runs. Stop offering your soul for scraps. Stop believing that love is earned by lowering yourself. The world has convinced you that your hunger is a flaw, that your pursuit is proof of passion. But passion isn't performance. Love isn't a courtroom where you plead your case. It's not a stage where you audition for her approval. It's a meeting of equals, two souls who choose each other not out of need, but out of respect, not out of lack, but out of fullness. And women, you are not blameless in this war. You've learned to weaponize your allure, to turn your body into a billboard, your presence into a performance. You demand intimacy while drowning men in illusion, offering skin instead of soul, visibility instead of vulnerability. You've made your femininity a trap, not because you're cruel, but because you've been taught that attention is power, that beauty is currency. You post, you pose, you filter, and you wonder why men stop at the surface. You've left no room for depth, no space for the sacred. You cry for connection but sell your essence to the highest bidder, then blame men when they ghost, when they retreat, when they disconnect. You've turned love into a game of power, and both of you lose. The tragedy is not just yours, men, it's hers too. Every time you chase, you enable the illusion. Every time you bend, you reinforce the performance. You give away your power not because she demands it, but because you offer it, hoping she'll make you whole. But she can't. No one can. Wholeness begins when you stop bleeding out your strength, when you stop outsourcing your confidence to her gaze, when you stop believing your purpose is to be chosen. Your purpose is to choose yourself, to stand naked under the sky and feel complete, not because you've won her, but because you've won yourself. This war is invisible, but relentless. It's a spiritual war, and men are on the front lines. It's fought in the silence of unanswered texts, in the ache of rejection, in the rituals of shame and humiliation disguised as justice. It's fought in family courts that strip you of your children and your dignity, demanding you pay for the privilege of being erased. It's fought in media that mocks your pain, in classrooms that pathologize your instincts, in relationships where your vulnerability is weaponized. But the war is not won by fighting harder, by chasing faster, by giving more. It's won by stopping, by refusing to kneel, by rejecting the lie that your value lies in her eyes. So stand, not in defiance, but in truth. Let her go, not out of anger, but out of clarity. Let her choose someone else, not because you've failed, but because you've chosen yourself. The moment you stop chasing, you become dangerous, not to her, but to the system that thrives on your submission. A man who doesn't need her approval cannot be controlled. A man who carries his happiness within cannot be broken. A man who loves himself first is not a threat, but a revolution. The world will tell you this is selfishness, that to love yourself is to betray the script. But the script was never yours. It was written to keep you running, to keep you hungry, to keep you enslaved to a dream that profits from your pain. Burn it. Walk away, not from love, but from the illusion of it, not from women, but from the fantasy that they hold your worth. Love is not a chase, it's a choice. And the first choice must be you. You don't just fight for your children or your dignity. You fight for the right to be a man who knows his own value. You fight for the right to love yourself. This is the war on men, and it ends when you stop fighting their battles and start fighting for your soul. Stand in your truth. Stand in your strength. Stand in the unbearable clarity of knowing you are enough. Let her walk beside you if she chooses, but never let her define you. The war is over when you decide. It is. So decide. Love yourself first, and he world will follow.